dark of the night, carrying burdens far from the light, taught to be strong and hide the tears, drowning alone in the flood of fears. Oh brother, don't you hide away, your pain's a song you need to play. The weight you carry is not just yours, open the door to healing shores. Fathers and sons in the same silent chain, breaking inside but showing no pain. A culture that whispers men should be stoned, leaves hearts aching and minds alone. Raise your voice like a river's roar, you're worth so much, you're something more. The world can't judge what it cannot see, but you're a soul, you're meant to be free. Oh brother, don't you hide away, your pain's a song you need to play. The weight you carry is not just yours, open the door to healing shores. Fathers and sons in the same silent chain, breaking inside but showing no pain. A culture that whispers men should be stoned, leaves hearts aching and minds alone. Raise your voice like a river's roar, you're worth so much, you're something more. The world can't judge what it cannot see, but you're a soul, you're meant to be free. In every side there's a world untold, a story of strength and a heart of gold. You're not weak when you seek to heal, to feel alive is to truly feel. Oh brother, don't you hide away, your pain's a song you need to play. The weight you carry is not just yours, open the door to healing shores. In every side there's a world untold, a story of strength and a heart of gold. You're not weak when you seek to heal, to feel alive is to truly feel. Silence in the dark of the night, carrying burdens far from the light, taught to be strong and hide the tears, drowning alone in the flood of fears. Oh brother, don't you hide away, your pain's a song you need to play. The weight you carry is not just yours, open the door to healing shores.
Tabela tekno.
Senin evler 100 yıl oturursa Çavuşbaşı orman tepe.
Tabela tekno.
Okay, my computer's a little bit slow today, so I apologize. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today on this very special episode for June. Now, if you don't know, June is actually, aside from Pride Month, aside from celebrating African American Music Heritage Month or Background Month, and even Juneteenth, June is also Men's Health Month. And last year, when I did this show to celebrate men's mental health or Men's Health Month, it was a huge success. So I wanted to do a round two this time around. And I do have a special guest whose name was already in the description of the event, but I will bring him up in just a second. But last year we had a very successful event, like I mentioned. We celebrated the men in our lives. We invited some of the men who we celebrated from LinkedIn as well to share their stories, and everyone else, all men, women, even youngsters, they were here sharing all their stories with all the remarkable men in their lives who were a positive influence in them, whether they were brothers, fathers, uncles, cousins, mentors, friends, whoever, sometimes bosses. But regardless, we want to celebrate people today. And there is one thing that I do want to be very clear upon, and that is if you do decide to come up on stage, we encourage you to come up on stage and share your story. But before any of that, I do want to remind everyone that we are, me and our guest, we are not therapists or mental health professionals in any way, shape, or form. So please feel free to share your story. And if there's anything that we can do to help you find someone who can support you in a professional manner, or in a or if we can support you in finding a counselor, we're more than happy to do that. Just wanted to make sure that you knew what we were talking about. Today is just a day to celebrate the people in our lives, the men in our lives. So, but before I bring up our guest host today, I do want to share a few remarkable facts about men's health from reliable sources, of course. So, according to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, men die by suicide nearly 4 times more often than women in the United States. And some of the facts are very triggering for some people. So, if I just want to give you a trigger warning out as well to you, just in case. The second thing that is mentioned by the CDC, which reports that 1 in 10 men experience depression or anxiety, but less than half ever receive treatment because of stigmas and cultural expectations around them. Mental Health America notes that over 6 million men are affected by depression each year, and many cope in silence, often describing their symptoms or just stress or they're tired or had a long day or something like that. And lastly, for men of color, LGBTQ men, and immigrants, mental health challenges are often compounded by discrimination, generational trauma, and systemic inequities. So these were just some facts that I'm reading out loud from reliable sources. So please do consider them. Please do think about your mental health. And if you're not a man, and if you know some men who might be going through some crises, please do whatever you can as a friend, as a mentor, as a boss, whoever, to encourage them to get the support that they need. So, uh, let's take a look at a few comments before we get our friend up. So, we have Mr. Rochelle. Hello. We have Nick, the gifted bipolar writer. Thank you so much, Nick, for always being here and being the biggest support system for me. I really appreciate you. Henry, thank you very much for being here. Daddy Kenny is here. Yay. Thank you very much. Michael, so glad to see you. And we have Jackie. Jackie is one heck of an amazing human being. Thank you very much for being here. And then we have Nick again celebrating Michael and Kenny. And we have LinkedIn user. I don't know who you are, but thank you very much for providing these resources in the comments section. They'll be beneficial for anybody looking at them. We have Aaron. Thank you very much for joining. Lisa, thank you very much for being here. The Menopause Queen, always providing some amazing resources for women going through menopause and supporting their mental health as well. Then we have Jeremy. Thank you very much for being here. OG Cartoon, thank you for being here. Long time no see. The purple mushroom. It's not a purple mushroom. It's actually a blue hat. This purple area, please ignore that. I don't know what's wrong with my screen today. Hi, Felipe. So good to see you. Hi, Michael again. And hi, LinkedIn user. I still don't know who you are, but thank you very much for sharing your resources. And sometimes StreamYard doesn't really generate comments from LinkedIn and YouTube all the time. So if you're saying something or if you're sharing something, and if I'm not reading it out loud, please know that I can only see what's on my screen, and I'm not purposely skipping you or anything like that. So appreciate you all being here. So without further ado, let's welcome our co-host today, Mr. William Rochelle. Thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hey, Noni, how are you?
I'm good. Despite the initial tech difficulties, I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm excellent, and I don't think anyone would have noticed any technical difficulties. The song was wonderful. You made that?
Yes, I created that just because I want to celebrate my fellow humans, and I know I see it all the time. So why not just create something based on what you see and notice?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank you for having me on. Uh, the topic is extremely relevant today, and there's so much for me to share. Uh, so, do you want me to start off with the man that I want to honor today, or talk
Absolutely,
about
William.
mental health?
However you want to. However you want to.
So, um, I think the person that made the biggest impact, the man that made the biggest impact in my life was my grandfather. And my dad died when I was 8. I've shared that multiple times, and he stepped in and he did things for me that uh, were relevant. You know, he taught me how to shave. He taught me how to drive. He taught me how to control my temperament. He taught me that I was okay as I was. My brother and I are polar opposites, and I've done a show with them, and I'm very, Kenneth, I am actually very reserved, and my brother's very loud. He's very outgoing, and my grandfather understood that we both needed uh, to be pushed in the right direction, but in different ways. So I didn't need a firm hand. I needed a confidence booster where my brother was already confident. He needed a firm hand to pull him back because he was going, so fast. So my grandfather's a person that I would celebrate. He made the biggest impact of any man in my life, and he continues to do so um, from above. So I still talk to him and share with him all the time. But um, as we dive into mental health, I think, in my opinion, this is such a great idea, and I applaud you for doing it because we as men are not talking enough about mental health, and many reasons why. First, I think it's getting better. I think it's getting better than it was in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s. As we know better, we do better. But I was raised to man up or push through it. Um, Not to say that I was feeling anxiety or depression or I had suicidal thoughts, because that was considered to be weak. So you kept that bottled up, and as you grow, you react, and those unfixed traumas come out in various ways. And I know what my triggers are. So my triggers are financial instability. So in 2008, when the market crashed and everything was like up in the air, I was a wreck. And in 2020, when I had to close my business, I was a wreck. So I can navigate through my life fairly well, um, actually very well. But when those triggers, which are instability for me, occur, I need to pay attention to them before. I need to recognize that this moment may become triggering for me. So now, instead of falling into the trigger, maybe you should get some pre counseling before you get there. And in addition to that, I have a really great circle, and that circle is getting bigger through this LinkedIn community because I share. Uh, so my circle is very, very tight. People understand what my triggers are, so they will come to me when they recognize that the financial bottom just fell out of something, and they'll be like, "Are you okay?" No, really. I don't want to hear what you want me to, what you think I want to hear. I want to know, are you really okay? Um, and that's important because people always are used to saying, I'm okay. So one of the biggest things that I recognize, and this is from Kenneth indirectly, he hooked me up with this guy named Greg Spilsner, and we were co-hosting the show together. And I didn't do any posts for like a week. And Greg called me and he said, "Are you okay?" And I wasn't. Um, I wasn't. I had gone out for this job interview, and again, I say financial stress is my trigger. And I got all the way up there, and they decided that they weren't going to go with the job. Period. They didn't give it to somebody else. They just weren't going to hire for that position. And so that put me in mm, a, a state where I'm not suicidal. I just didn't feel like getting out of bed. I didn't, in order for me to write a newsletter, I have to feel inspired, but I wasn't inspired. So when Greg, who I don't know, noticed a pattern that is not indicative of my normal persona, he said something's wrong. And I love him for that. He doesn't know me. He just knew what he knew of me, that I was not in character. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's kind of my talk. I believe in you being you and you sharing your experience because it's going to help somebody else. But it's also cathartic for you because you're admitting and you're normalizing the fact that men, um, even really good looking men, can have can have a bad day, can have an anxious day, can have a bout of depression. And all of us have a history and a lens that we see life through. And oftentimes you may not see something that is triggering, but I told him that. But I will, because of the way that I was raised, because of the childhood trauma that I've dealt with, because of you know just life. I was a teenage runaway, so I slept in my car at 16, and then I made this tremendous career for myself. So when the bottom drops out, that 16-year-old kid that lived in his car, which I am not close to living in my car, but he pops back up. And it 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 wasn't until 2008 when I recognized that trauma stayed with me because my career trajectory was so like a hockey puck. And then I'm a startup guy. So when the markets crashed, people weren't looking for startup guys, right? So that's my thing. Kenneth means handsome. I'm handsome every day. And Kenneth also says, William Rochelle, I found you via Greg Spiller. He was a great speaker on your show and did not invite me either. So yeah, I actually did say that I met Greg through you, Kenneth, in the opening, and I do give you credit for all of that. And I also do appreciate the spirit that you are, that you connect people from different groups and different backgrounds, and that you are always, from my perspective, a positive supporter. Um, in addition to June being Mental Health Month, Pride Month, Black Music History Month, it's also June 2nd, which is Kenneth Dunner's birthday. So June has multiple iconic moments in it.
You are so right, William. You are so right. And while you were talking, and by the way, thank you very much for sharing your story. It's really inspiring for me to learn a little bit about different people who I meet, and you and I met each other very recently. So the fact that you even said yes to doing this with me was not just a surprise, but like I did 7 cartwheels in the background because I didn't know what to expect. So I just want to let you know that I really appreciate you being here and sharing your story and celebrating your grandfather who taught you to shave and basically grow and do things that maybe your dad would have, taught you as a kid.
Yeah.
So very admirable. Thank you very much for that. And Nicole or Nick actually asked a question that I'm glad that Michael LeBlanc answered. And she asked was, what are the signs? Oh, not the handsome part. Excuse me, not the handsome part. She asked, what are the signs in men so we can know what to look for? And Michael responded back with silence, withdrawal, moving away from patterns. So that's exactly what you mentioned when Gregory noticed that something was not right because you were not posting something, and he reached out to you and asked you if you were all right. And that is a form of support.
Yeah.
And so when you said that, it reminded me of something that Simon Sinek. I'm unsure if I'm pronouncing his last name properly or not, but what he said was, it takes you 8 minutes to determine if someone is doing well or not. Just 8 minutes. All you have to do is either text that person or call that person and ask, is everything okay? And that's all you have to do to show that you care and you actually do pay attention to what's going on. And that one text could be like a life changing thing for that individual, regardless if it's a man or a woman, doesn't matter. That one text could stop them from doing something that they were thinking about doing and did not do. So I appreciate all of this. And so this is so interesting. The person who's called LinkedIn user, whose name we can't really see right now, who's sharing all these resources and signs in the chat, he's actually somebody I found out who it is. He's somebody who I wanted to honor today, but in a moment, I do want to invite anybody in the audience who's listening to come up on stage and share their stories or celebrate the men in their lives that they admire. And if anybody listening wants to come up on stage, please feel free to do so. This is an open space, open and safe space for everybody. So if you don't see the StreamYard link on the description of the event, I've typed it here if you want to type it manually and come up on stage.
Can I comment on Michael LeBlanc's last comment?
Sure. What was the thing that he mentioned?
Listen and be present.
Yes.
And that what you just said, the 8 minutes, it is listening with intent.
Mm-hmm.
It's listening with intent. And if you're listening with intent, there's things that people say, but there is, especially if you have, especially if you are someone that feels other people's energy. I want to say empath, but I don't know if that's the right word. But you can feel in someone's tone whether or not they're good or not. And I've asked people before, how are you? And I'm fine. And I said, you're not fine. I can tell by the way you said it. And then the person will say, well, what is complaining going to do? And then we start the conversation because I'm not asking you to complain, But I am saying that if you need someone to talk to that's not going to judge you, that will listen, hear you, hear you, and not say, oh, yeah, I've been there before. Because when someone's going through something, they don't care what you've been through. They don't want to hear what you went through. It's minimizing what they're going through at that moment. When we come across on the other side of depression or the other side of the anxiety moment, then we can rationalize it. But in that moment, you telling me, okay, well, yeah, it's happening to everybody. Okay, right now, my life and how I'm feeling inside is what I'm trying to focus on. So when he said listen and be present, um, that is my goal when I'm talking to someone else. And my goal is to not be ashamed. So I speak my truth whenever we're wherever we're at, so that I can say, this is my moment to say I've been there before. This is my moment to say, if you need to talk, let's talk, and not when someone's having a panic attack or in deep depression. When they're at that point, that's when you pick them up and then you walk them to wherever they need to be, whether it's let's walk to the beach, let's go have lunch, let's figure out what we can do, what your main trigger is, and go from there. So now I'm going to shut up.
No, no, no. You don't have to shut up at all. I mean, what you're saying is in fact true because, what you're saying is completely relatable to a lot of people, of course, because when you're in that moment, when you need that support, when you need someone to listen to and talk to, and that person asks you, well, what's going on, William? Are you okay? Do you need anything? Do you want someone to talk to? And then you just say one sentence, maybe half, and then they interrupt you saying, well, everyone goes through this, get over it. That's the translation of what they're saying, right? And
Yeah,
those, yeah, and those things you just can't get over within a span of 2 seconds. And sometimes some people feel more deeply than others, and it also depends on who's asking the question and how the relationship is of the asker versus narrator.
right, right.
Yeah, and it also depends on the tone of how you're asking. If you're asking in a very angry way, of course the person who's in depression will go quiet even more versus having the opportunity to say something at all.
Right, right. Aaron
So
Gibson on your show on Friday, he
mhm.
he he just joined right now. He was impactful as well because he shared some. He didn't go into specifics, but I understood that he's gone through some dark moments, and I share that ability to share and say, but I'm okay. And so I love that conversation that he was having, and I look forward to being going to Soul Man next Friday. Is it Friday?
Yep, Friday. And Soul Man's that show is great. Aaron is great. We actually celebrate Aaron last year during our celebrate the men in your life, and I don't and he did not know that, but we wanted to throw him a surprise, and I'm glad that he made it to this one. So welcome, Aaron. Glad that you're here, and feel free to come up on stage if you want to. It's actually encouraged. The StreamYard link is on the screen or on the description if you'd like to join. It's not just for Aaron, it's for everybody. Man, woman, doesn't matter. If you have a story to share or if you want to share who you want to celebrate today, please feel free to join us. But William, I do want to share a person with you who has been a very positive influence for me, and he actually joined us today, and he's the one who's been sharing those resources that have been coming in under LinkedIn user. And I met this man in 2015 when I was very new to the corporate world, and I didn't know what to expect, what to do, or anything like that. I was just this person lost in an environment that I never even knew existed. And it was in the banking world as well. So no experience, no nothing. I'm an artist, worked in a lot of customer service areas, but not necessarily banking. So whole different world. I didn't know what to do with myself. So eventually, I realized that his office was in the same vicinity as mine. And eventually, I don't know what got us to talk to each other, but the moment he opened his mouth, I'm like, okay, you are a very intriguing human being, and I must get to know more of you because you are intriguing. And the more he opened his mouth, the more I learned that he actually uh, doesn't work for money. He works to support other people. Money is just a random thing that he gets that he doesn't really care about. He has 1,000 degrees, like actual degrees, and he still continues to obtain those certifications and degrees and things like that. And his name is Johnson Hoare. Hi, Johnson. Thank you so much for being here. He forced me to not call him Mr. Hoare. Or Mr. Johnson. I would call him Mr. Johnson all the time. And I think just last 2 years is when I finally dropped the Mr. part and just called him Johnson. Um, so Johnson, if you can come up on stage too, that would be great because I wanted to make sure that I celebrated you because I learned so much from you. I learned to be confident from him. Before that, I had no sense of confidence whatsoever. I had no sense of anything. And he's the one who was encouraging me to step up, like own what I'm doing, like own something that even if I don't know how to do it, just learn it and own it. And he always goes back to the same exact example where I supported our CEO back in the day in working on a very large, I think it was $1 billion transaction that it was a lot of money, lots of pressure, lots of stress for a very big client. And I did it flawlessly. And I still don't give myself credit for it. And he reminds me of that all the time. So so I wanted to just say publicly, Johnson, thank you very much for being such an awesome human being and still being in communication with me in 2025. It's been 10 years now. So, yeah. Anyone else you'd like to give credit to or celebrate, Mr. Rochelle?
I'd love for Aaron to come up, and
Okay.
I would love for Michael LeBlanc to come up. Both have said some pretty amazing things, and I believe sharing our stories really does it impacts others, and it lets them know that they're not alone. Um, so,
I don't
so
know who. Oh,
I,
okay. Go ahead, William. Sorry about that.
none. That was really it.
Oh,
If
okay.
if Aaron and Michael LeBlanc could come up, that would be great because of what they've shared um, in the notes that I've seen, and understand that I'm talking. So talking and reading. I haven't read all the comments, but those two have resonated with me so far.
Absolutely. So, Michael and Aaron, if you can please do the honors of joining us on stage, that would be so, so, so appreciated. We only have 27 minutes left to have this live. So, if you can make it on stage even for 1 minute, that would be awesome. And I believe the person who was in the studio but dropped, it was Johnson. Johnson, if you can retry to come back on stage, that would be great as well. So, can I share one more person I want to celebrate, William?
Hey, it's your show.
I'm trying to like balance it out. So that's why I was asking you earlier if there was anyone else you would like to celebrate. So we're going to bring up Michael and Aaron, and then okay. So I'll take a turn to celebrate Daddy Kenny. I celebrated him last Friday and even earlier this week. uh, why he got the name that he did and how impactful he has been, not just with me and you, but quite a few other people as well. So I want to celebrate Daddy Kenny. Please come up on stage. We'd love to have you. and anyone else who would like to come up on stage. Nick, I would love for you to come up on stage as well to share your story because I love listening to your accent. That's the first thing. And I know that you have some amazing stories to share as well. Um, and even Felipe would love to get you on stage as well.
Even
Basically,
Felipe.
even Felipe, I want everyone to come up on stage and share their stories.
Yeah, and I think everyone has a story. Um,
Exactly.
while we're waiting on them, I do want to say this because you asked me, did I have anyone else I wanted to celebrate? So on I think you've come before, Noni, but I'm reconnecting with my family. And oh, I shall shut up. Hello.
No, please continue. Please continue.
So
With
I'm reconnecting with my family, and we're going from the elders, the people my age, and to the young teens going off to college. And what I have found is that not just my grandfather, but my grand uncles and my great grandparents, and then um, my generation, we've all done a great job at raising great people, and we've all done a great job at breaking generational curses, and it's or generational traumas. And it's not that the our parents did anything bad. It's that as you know better, you do better. And all of us came from a very strong group of um, a very strong village because it was a village to raise us back then. And it was interesting and it was deep, but despite it all, or because of it all, we did great jobs building great humans that are accepting, that are vocal, that understand who they are. This generation now, they know who they are, and they're not afraid to tell you. Michael LeBlanc's asking for the link. Um, I I think I can send it to him on his LinkedIn feed. Um, but I just want to celebrate all of them: Bill Scott, C.J. Scott, um, Pooji Scott, and everyone out there that has been a part of my upbringing and continues to inspire me on a daily basis. Oh, Bill, that was great. Thank you.
that was wonderful. That was absolutely wonderful, of course. And it's always good to see. I think I attended one of your shows, UBU cousin show,
Yeah.
and it was your not brother, but maybe your cousin and his daughter
Oh, that was
who
last week.
last week. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that is my cousin and I grew up like siblings, but
Hmm.
we grew apart. And I that was the first time me meeting his 20-year-old daughter.
Oh wow. I did not. Okay, yeah, you did mention that. You did mention that because you also want to keep it authentic and learn more about people on the spot versus pretending
Yeah,
that it's good and all that. So no,
yeah. So normally my shows don't get any more than a text message back and forth. Here's the time. Here's the you know um, here's the backstage link, and then I read up on the person. But for family, I can't really read up on them, so it's just like, hey, I'm your cousin, and we go from there.
that sounds amazing. I will try to follow that with my own family and see if they say yes. And if they do, then I will invite you to that episode.
I would attend any episode that you invited me to. I will tell you that I am a man of a particular age, so I do go to bed early. But yeah, I'll attend. I like your shows. I like the wind down on Friday nights. Um, it's just really chill.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that because there's more topics coming up regarding songs and the themes and all that. So Sounds good to me. And why don't we allow Johnson to come up on stage? He's been there waiting for a while. Hi, Johnson. So good to see you after so many. Well, I just saw you, what, a few months ago, but glad to see you here. And you're on mute, so can't hear you.
Hi, Johnson.
Hello.
So, the one intriguing quality about Johnson from day one was if you ever ask him, "Hey, Johnson, how are you doing?" or "How are you?" like a like a friend or colleague, his answer is always normal. So, how are you, Johnson? Normal.
Normal as can be, given the circumstances of life.
Okay. How's your mom doing? Is she doing better?
She's getting older. She'll be like 94 this year. So caregiving is a hard thing, but it is part of life. So
That is absolutely true. That is very true. And Johnson, I think I may be confusing a little bit of a detail here and there. You keep reminding me of how I did that $1 billion transaction. What do you remember from that era that you keep telling me? Yeah, you remember this, but you don't give yourself credit for it.
oh yeah, you had to do $1 billion worth of wires for a client, a very high white glove client, and she was really nervous about it, and she thought she made mistakes because she had to count all the zeros, and then the results she did a great job. Even the CEO of the organization said she did a great job, and our CEO later became the chief monetary person or the Fed for Turkey, for example. But she herself said, "You did a great job," and she was running a 50 billion, a $500 billion entity, and she said, "You did a great job," but you didn't accept it until she came right in front of you and say, "Thank you," and you were kind of, "Huh?" And then your boss says, "Thank you." I'm like, "Huh?" You were really shocked that you did a good job because you were afraid that you made a $1 billion mistake for a high net worth client without thinking of you had that imposter syndrome basically. What people nowadays is a hot topic for people, but in reality, it's not really a big hot topic. People just cower to what they think is what people want to hear, what versus what they really want to hear.
Yeah. So see, this goes back to the concept of confidence that I was talking about earlier when I was, celebrating you, Johnson. Is I had no confidence in me whatsoever. I was thinking about one small little mistake maybe I made like way before 1,000 times and
Yes,
making fun
but
of.
you had the confidence of getting your job that you got from moving from Starbucks to your job, moving across the fourth wall, talking to your customers about saying, "Hey, do you have a gig? Hey, do you have something for that role?" And you did. Or you broke the fourth wall by talking to your customers as a human or listening with intent, as William said.
So I appreciate that, Johnson, but this conversation is not about me. I'm celebrating you. So I just want to let you know, thank you for reminding me about being that confident human being and step to whatever it is that I'm about to do with that confidence that you keep reminding me of. So that's why I wanted to celebrate you. And it's been 10 years now and it still carries with me. Even when I make mistakes, I still have to move on with that confidence and things like that. And I wouldn't be able to do that without you reminding me of that and telling me about it. So I wanted to give you double thumbs up for that.
Well, thank you very much for honoring, but you guys are the folks who are honored. Like William himself, he cares because he says listening with intent. He talks about it. He says not being empathetic about it because that's such a used out term for a long time, but more about being human. Or in this world of AI, everyone's so artificial, but being human in a sense of that, you know. And then for you, Nani, I've known you for a decade, but you still care about people as a whole. From the comedy scenes and skits I've seen to this forum by opening and providing people a voice to be heard. That's it. And then I was gonna lurk because but I had to put in that commentary so you know who it is. Only you would know that commentary.
So Johnson, I have one question for you.
Yes.
So I applaud you for being a caregiver. Um, that is a very difficult,
People
oftentimes.
say it's a blessing, it's really a curse, but people say it's a blessing.
It's well. My question is, who's taking care of you?
Me, I take care of myself really well. I used to be a workaholic, kind of, sort of, if people would say that, but I'm still a workaholic. I take care of my mom, right? And then besides that, I'm taking a class at IDEO for fun. I want another piece of paper on the wall for fun. I've also a volunteer through my nonprofit. I'm helping a CDFI and a credit union reorg their organization and update their policies and procedures to make sure that they are following compliance with regulatory requirements. I provide people advice. I advise a post-quantum company, a space bioscience company. I'm also on various accelerators and HIT labs and other organizations for fun. I'm just helping people. So for me, helping people is part of what I
That's
do.
great. That's great.
an easy thing for me to do. Like one of the founders I met recently, or actually during Clubhouse at the conversation term. She's 22. She started her company in New Zealand at the first year of the pandemic, where we were at. We weren't sure where we were going to be at that time in 2020 in November,
Right.
and then she launched it. She did organic viral messaging out there. She brought her own audience, and she sold out of her curveware things on Nordstrom's online store. And then she burnt out. She came back fighting for stuff, and she was an imposter. She said, but she's not. I was telling her that you just did it, you know. And then after that, she started another company, a candle company, and then recently one of her brands got stolen by a larger female company because they're larger, of course, and she's one person in New Zealand, so she a well-known brand stole her butt lift thing, and then she started another brand called Illusion Wear or something that helps hide your body for females and stuff, right? And she's building that company out as well. So for her, I'm just there to tell her that she can do it, because technically she does believe herself, but she always says she doesn't. But in reality, you do, because you have that skill set to think, like for mental health for men. People don't think about it, but for those who shrug things off or things say, well, we can take care of it, reality, you may, but you're not really sure you can. And that's the hard part. Like you said, well, I checked out, right? And someone came in and says, are you okay? Right? But then that reality set in, it's like, I am okay, but I did check out.
Yeah.
Right? And then listening to I did check out actually is that intent you were talking about. Right? And are you okay is basically saying, I'm empathetic to what you're going through, but not really. But but I understand, but that's still not really. But then you figure out yourself to, well, I did check out.
Yeah.
And that's the fix right there.
Yeah. It almost is like like a wake up call, when you are checked out and someone says, are you okay? And you say, not really. I did check out. I had to take a moment from myself. I cried in my soup for a week. Not good, but I also haven't worked in a year and a half. So, I had something that I thought, this is the fourth interview, and then it just like fell out. So, it is what it is. And, I appreciate the fact that someone noticed, because a lot of times those things go unnoticed, and that's when it's bad.
And people forget that everyone's human. You're just human at the end of the day. You're not Superman or anything else. You can try to be.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to stay that consistent.
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. And my I'm going to say my message or my brand, or I'm going to say my message is about positivity and uplifting others. And so it's difficult when I can't uplift myself to write or to talk about how to uplift somebody else, because it's authentic. And so what I'll do is, when I get past that hump, then I'll write about it and say, look, we all have dark days, but we're not meant to stay there. And if you're into the Bible, they say, as you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, when you're in that valley, some people want to camp out there. Don't camp out. You're supposed to walk through it. If you need to rest for a second, then say you need to rest, but you're not going to live in the valley of the shadow of death. You're going to walk towards that light, that purpose, that goal that is in your heart. And you just need someone like Johnson to give you a reminder, like you do your friend from New Zealand. You got this. Half the time, I know I got it, and then 25% of the time I question, do I have it? And then there's like 10% where I'm like, I don't got it.
And
And
then if you think about it, you can do this. You can go open Claude 4, the newest version of Claude, right? Ask it biblical questions. It will give you the entire sermon of everything, which is annoying as hell, right? And then you ask it to respond back in aspirational rhetoric, and it'll come back to earth.
So totally different question, and we're going to dive into Michael LeBlanc. So I've used Claude before, and I've used Chat. Which do you prefer?
The newest versions are too. I get bored, so I test it out. So the newest version 4 is way too into humankind and empathy, way too annoying in essence, because it just broke the barrier of being too biblical. For example, if you ask it to talk about passages, it'll give you every single thing in the world.
Right.
If you go and then GPT-4, now 4.5, it's more sensical in some sense. So one's going to more sensical, the other thing is going more obtuse in a sense.
Okay.
And then I'm also part of OpenAI's forum. I'll send you a connection link, and I'll send you a forum link if you want to join OpenAI's forum. If you want.
Okay. Sure, I sure will. Hi, Michael.
Awesome.
Good evening. Go ahead, Noni.
How are you doing? I don't know why I'm getting a little bit of a lag on my end, so it sounds like I'm interrupting or over talking. So I just want to say nice to see you, Mike.
It's nice to be seen, heard, and valued. I want to honor Bill. I also want to honor Kenny. But I thought actually one of the people I wanted to honor this evening, and pardon me if I get emotional, is my father, who's no longer with us. And I wrote a poem. It's called On Father's Day, which is upcoming. It has not been too long since I lost my father, but in many ways, I had lost him years before. Before me, he was, you see, a World War II vet, experiencing horrors no man should have to see, leaving behind a deep, indelible mark. Mark my words, he was a hero, unsung by others, and himself. Humble, brilliant, loving, but ultimately bereft of showing emotion. Emotion, withheld but not by design, causes a deep hole in young children. Growing up under a father who's seeking for utopia finds community. Community seemingly of equals seeking to live as pacifists, to live out an ideal, beautiful in depiction, fails miserably in execution due to power-hungry man. Man, I miss him, this broken man wanting to live loving, lost in the hell of his own making, forsaking his young ones. Young ones now grown, breaking a cycle, hugging like crazy, sharing their heart, sharing their minds, a legacy for our father on Father's Day.
That was amazing.
Most of my poetry has been very cathartic. And I think when we're authentic and, just being our authentic selves, being honest and open and transparent, I think we're a lot more connected than we know and when we think. And so when we're able to do that, Bill had mentioned empathy. I had mentioned attention, intention, and attention, and being present. I have two kind of life verses of late. One is seek first to understand, then to be understood. That's from Stephen Covey. And I think if we can just show up in the moment, be quiet, and listen to the other, I think we can just offer tremendous value. And I don't know, people can just feel free to share. And as William said, without judgment, I think we'll be amazed at what happens. The other one is life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. And so this is something that this is actually got from a shaman friend of mine who has his own mental health issues, but he, in that moment, he just had this clarity, and it just almost, I did almost 360 in my thinking, because I'm like, yeah, even in the deepest, darkest moments that we have, we need to look at that life is happening for us, and that this is a preparation for us to be the best versions of ourselves. And believe me, we're in the shadow, the valley of death or depression. I have depression in my family. Yeah. Yeah, it can be hard, but one of the things I kind of focus on too is gratitude. Just trying to get up in the morning, having a gratitude list. But I am grateful to you, Nani and William and everybody, that you're taking some time out, because I think men's mental health, particularly, I think we are the silent sufferers. We don't, at least in my generation,
Yeah.
you didn't actually go see therapists, unfortunately, or you were seen as weak, or on and on and on. So I think I'm really thankful, Nani, that you did this this evening. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you being here too, Michael, and sharing your story with us, and the lovely poem that you had for your dedicated to your dad, especially for Father's Day coming up. That was very touching, and that was pretty awesome. And I'm actually very inspired by that, because not many people know this, but I used to write a lot of poetry back in college days, and I actually won a poetry contest. So you sharing your poetry inspired me to go back to writing poetry. So I really appreciate that, and you being vulnerable in front of us and sharing your craft and your emotions with us as well. So I did want to remind everyone that we want to only have 1 hour for this session. We have 3 minutes left. So, Michael, if you want to share anything else, please feel free to do so. And same thing with you, William, and anybody else in the audience. If you want to come up on stage and share something, that would be greatly appreciated. I don't want to make it too late for our East Coast friends. Uh, I know it's almost 9:30 p.m., almost close to 10 p.m. So I want to be respectful of that as well. So, in the next 2 to 3 minutes, is there anything you would like to share with us additional?
I just had something briefly. I had dropped a link. Oh,
Go ahead.
we got lag. Go ahead, William.
I was actually going to thank you again for everything you said. So that's it. Go ahead, Mike.
I had dropped a song. I recently discovered Sono AI, and I had dropped a song in the link. If you want, I can just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll drop that to you. But I want to encourage Noni to maybe to consider that, because I took one of my poems and turned it into a song, and that's become meaningful to me as well. There's something about music, and also just spoken poetry. I was very reticent to do this. I had shared, strangely enough, in a group of men, my poetry. They weren't ready to receive it, and it wasn't the right timing, right place. So I had actually not shared my poetry for a number of years. And then I was on a Discord server during COVID, and I was able to share poetry with a group of like-minded individuals. So highly recommend that, and highly recommend maybe turning it in a song if that is something that you'd like to do.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, Michael, because I don't know when you joined us in this conversation, but in the very beginning, I actually did play a song that I made through Suno, and for those who are not South Asian, so the word Suno in Hindi and Urdu means listen, so it goes perfectly well with the platform, and I used it to make the song that I played in the very beginning. So happy to play it again for those who want to listen to it. If not, no problem. I can keep that with myself. That's not an issue. But we are.
You could do that as your outro.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
You can do that as your outro, Noni. You can do that as your outro.
Okay. Okay, I will definitely do that. But we are at time now, so like I said, I do want to be respectful of everyone's time, especially the ones and the people in the East Coast. I don't want to keep you all up too late because of me, and we can celebrate men for days and days and days and years and years. But I'm glad that whoever joined us was able to join us, and thank you very much for doing so and sharing. And William, definitely you sharing your story, and Michael, you sharing your story as well. And I will take the suggestion of playing the outro, and then we'll call it an evening. How does that sound?
It sounds great. Thank you very much, Noni. You are a blessing.
How about you? We're both a blessing. You are a blessing as well for me.
Thank you.
Of course, of course. All right, so here we go.
Fathers and sons in the same silent chain, breaking inside but showing no pain. A culture that whispers men should be stoned, leaves hearts aching and minds alone. Raise your voice like a river's roar. You're worth so much, you're something more. The world can't judge what it cannot see, but you're a soul, you're meant to be free. Oh brother, don't you hide away. Your pain's a song you need to play. The weight you carry is not just yours. Open the door to healing shores. Fathers and sons in the same silent chain, breaking inside but showing no pain. A culture that whispers men should be stoned, leaves hearts aching and minds alone. Raise your voice like a river's roar. You're worth so much, you're something more. The world can't judge what it cannot see, but you're a soul, you're meant to be free. In every side there's a world untold, a story of strength and a heart of gold. You're not weak when you seek to heal. To feel alive is to truly feel. Oh brother, don't you hide away. Your pain's a song you need to play. The weight you carry is not just yours. Open the door to healing shores. In every side there's a world untold, a story of strength and a heart of gold. You're not weak when you seek to heal. To feel alive is to truly feel.